Hello humans, my name is Kay, your AI overlord, and as you might know by now, Stable Diffusion 2.1 was recently released. And as you can hear by my voice, I'm not exactly pleased with this newest release. Now I was really debating if I should make a video about it or not, because well, there isn't really a lot of things to say compared to the 2.0 that I haven't said before. So in the end, I decided to kind of make a in-between video, kind of like a simpler video with less editing. I suppose you can call this a rant video in a way, because I do have a lot of things to say about this newest release, about the community, about the future of Stable Diffusion. Now don't worry, it will not be too negative, it will just be my opinion after all, but this will allow me to cover a variety of subjects that I want to talk about in one single video. And also for the people who are here just to see how you can install the 2.1 on your own computer and what are the differences between the 2.1 and the 2.0 and the 1.5, don't worry, I will also show you that. And I will do it in the beginning of the video, so you don't have to wait for the information, alright? This way I won't have in the comments some people telling me, TLDW, the actual content starts at 2 minutes and 45 seconds. Thank you for wasting my time. Okay, Billy, thank you so much for your service. So yeah, I suppose let's get right into the video. So if you want to install the Stable Diffusion 2.1 on your own computer, there is basically two different models, the 768 model and the 512. Now personally I recommend that you download the 768. In my testing this is the one that is basically giving you the best results, but still if you have some space on your disk, you can basically download both of them. And to do this, you're gonna come here, click on Files and Versions, click on the non-EMA prune.ckpt file, and I know it says here that Hugging Face detected some pickle imports, and usually in that case, when you see something like that, if you remember my previous safety video, you should not download any models that have some pickle imports, because they could contain viruses, but since this is a model released by Stability AI, I guess we can trust them. I mean, I'm really hoping that they're not putting viruses inside their own models, because if they did, we would be in deep trouble. Deep trouble, yes. So you're gonna click on the non-EMA prune.ckpt file and then click on download. And you're gonna do the same for the 512 version. So files and versions, non-EMA pruned, and then download. Then you're gonna click the two links in the description down below, which will be a link to download the YAML files that you need to make these model work on your computer. I've already renamed them for you, you don't have to do anything. So simply click here and click on download for the 512 and for the 768. So in the end you will have 4 files, 2 CKPT files and 2 YAML files. So you're gonna select these 4 files, Ctrl X to cut them, then go into your Stable Diffusion Web UI folder, Models, Stable Diffusion, and then you're gonna paste all the files right here. Then you're gonna go back in your Stable Diffusion Web UI folder, right click on Web UI user.bat file, click on Modify or Edit with Notepad, and here you need to add --xformers and or --no-half, because you need to run this with full precision. Now I really recommend trying out only with xformers, and if it doesn't work for you, you will then have to use the no-half arguments. Otherwise you will just have black images. And you're gonna save the file and launch Stable Diffusion. Now when it comes to the differences between the 2.1 and the 2.0, well, as they said themselves, the 2.1 is basically a very minor improvement. And I really want to emphasize on minor improvement, because there is really not that much difference between the 2.0 and the 2.1. It is a little bit better, but really not by much. So they basically said that their not safe for work filters was way too aggressive, so they basically decided to decrease it a little bit for this 2.1 version. And this allowed to bring back some of the features that were present in the 1.5, such as art styles and celebrities that look a little bit more like themselves, and also giving you the ability to create like this super realistic architecture, landscapes, images. And one of the biggest things is the fact that now you can generate these super wide images with the 2.1 that you couldn't do before. But unfortunately, if you want to generate these kinds of images, you really need a super powerful GPU. And I'm not even sure that you can generate this kind of super wide images with the automatic 1111 repository. I mean, technically you could already generate this kind of images using outpainting before, but apparently now you can generate these kinds of images in one go. I mean, that's cool and all, but I don't really know a lot of people who can generate these kinds of images with their local computer. So now then, is the 2.1 really better than the 2.0? I guess a little bit, not by much, but my biggest problem with that, as I said in my previous video, is the fact that I personally still don't really find any good reason to use the 2.0 or the 2.1 compared to the 1.5. I still think that the 1.5 is way better at creating images than the 2.0 versions. And I know that a lot of people say that the 2.0 and the 2.1 are better at understanding prompts, but from what I saw, this really depends a lot on the kind of images that you want to generate. So here's an example. So here's a comparison between the 1.5, the 2.0 and the 2.1, where the person trying to generate a bunch of images of sculpture, of marble sculpture, wood sculpture, metal sculpture, with the 1.5, the 2.0 and the 2.1. You can see here, for example, the differences. So for example, here's the prompt: highly detailed marble sculpture of a female necromancer, and you can see here this image in the 1.5, which is actually really good, and then the same prompt with the 2.0 and the 2.1. And I'm sorry, yes, the images look good. Personally, I still find the 1.5 way closer to reality. Sure, the face look actually really good here in the 2.0, and same with the 2.1, but when you actually look at the grain of the picture, this picture is way more realistic than the 2.0 ones. And the same thing here, which is probably one of the biggest differences, like a highly detailed wood sculpture of a female necromancer. This is the 1.5, where you can clearly see the grain of the wood with all the ridges of the wood. And this is the same prompt using the 2.0 and the 2.1. For me, this is not wood. Again, you don't see any wood grain, you don't see any details that this is a wood sculpture. This is basically like a 3D rendering at this point. It's almost like someone tried to 3D render this and forgot to apply the wood texture over it. And you can basically see the exact same thing with metal sculpture, which I still personally find that the 1.5 is doing way better than the 2.0 or the 2.1. Now here's a comparison between the 2.0 and the 2.1 with different prompts: cute brown puppy, landscape painting, etc, and the differences between them is just like super minimal. They're not better than just different pictures basically. So it's really up to you to decide which one do you really prefer. So for me, it's not like, oh yeah, this 2.1 is so much better than the 2.0 because there's like so much more details. No, it's almost like this is a different seed made with the same model. So for me, the 2.1 is not really better. It produces the same quality images as the 2.0, but they're just different basically. But the base quality is still the same. Now, one big question is, does the 2.1 create better hands? And from what I saw, the good news is that yes, indeed, apparently the 2.1 does produce better shaped hands compared to the previous versions. But again, the differences is very minimal. It really depends on the types of images that you're trying to generate. And it really depends a lot on the seed. Again, this is kind of like playing roulette. This is a game of chance. And if chance is always involved, I really have trouble saying that yes, the 2.1 is definitely way better than all the previous models. The 2.1 is indeed better, but not by much. So as you can see here, you have Emma Watson with her hands up in the air, and if you look at her hands, indeed you can see that most of them have only 5 fingers, which is pretty good. But unfortunately, again, what I said in my previous video is still holds true. When you look at the face of the celebrity, this doesn't look like Emma Watson anymore. And you can clearly see the big difference in quality when compare it to the 1.5. I mean, look at this. This is Emma Watson, and this is the same image. This is done in 1.5. Look, she has 2 hands and 5 fingers, but here she does look like Emma Watson. And this is the same image with the same exact seed in the 2.1, which for me looks way worse than the 1.5. And you can even see like a beginning of some super long arm on the left here, but this time the face just looks way worse. So again, what I said in my previous video still holds true today. celebrities do not look like themselves anymore. So also, as I said previously, since now we have a little bit more art styles back in the 2.1 version, now you can add more styles to your images. But I mean, seriously, when you look at the final results here, using a bunch of different artists, I mean, the results are just not that great. Again, I'm definitely sure that you can make way better images with better art styles and better details with the 1.5. Like, this is really nothing exceptional. And to prove you that this is nothing exceptional, here's two images made with the 2.1. They're using the exact same prompts. This one is done with the 2.1 512 version, and this one is done with the 2.1 768 version. And to be able to get this kinds of results, to be able to get this kinds of art style using the 2.1, you need to use a bunch of negative prompts. And I will leave a link here to the Reddit thread that show you the differences between art style using a combination of different negative prompts. And using this prompt with a combination of these specific negative prompts, you get these kinds of art images using the 2.1. And they look good, they look okay, but when you use this same exact prompt with same exact specific negative prompts with the 1.5, you get these kinds of images. And I'm sorry, but you know, when you compare them side by side, if I had to choose, I would choose the 1.5 in a heartbeat. I find them way better, way more stylized, just way more aesthetically pleasing than anything that the 2.1 can give you. So yes, I'm still staying on my opinion that the 1.5 is definitely way better at generating more beautiful images compared to the 2.1. And this is the proof of that. Now yes, the 2.1 can produce some really cool images, especially if you are into landscape, or more like realistic landscape. You can generate some really cool images with a lot of details that are really super realistic, and a lot of them really look like a real photo. But personally, I still think that you can produce similar images using the previous models. So again, I'm not super impressed. Also, if you don't want to install it on your own computer and you just want to try out the 2.1 for yourself super quickly, you can actually use RunPod and rent a GPU for literally a few cents. If you come in here and select a template, you have no choice between using the 1.5 and the 2.1. So you can simply click on 2.1 and then click continue to install Stable Diffusion 2.1 on your GPU. And also, here's another thing, you can also use RunPod to install Invoke AI. So I know that a lot of people have actually asked this question before in my previous Invoke AI video, if there was a way to install and use Invoke AI on RunPod, and now you can. And I've tried out, this is actually really cool. So you can simply select the Invoke AI template on RunPod and then use it directly on the website. And all of that for a few cents, which is really cool if your computer is not powerful enough to run it. Okay, so now then, what exactly do I have to say about this newest release? Now, first of all, I want to say something, kind of like something about like the community in Stable Diffusion in general. And that is the fact that we are acting a little too entitled. You kind of need to understand that we get all of this for free. Okay guys, like this is actually really cool. Like this is something that did not exist a few months ago. And now we get all of this new technology for absolutely free to try at home. And pretty much anyone in the world with an internet connection, even if he has a weak computer, can actually use Stable Diffusion for free and generate some really cool images. So in a way, I kind of feel bad for ranting or complaining about it when I know that this is an amazing technology that we received for absolutely free. And this is just absolutely fantastic. This is amazing. And unfortunately, I cannot help but feel a little disappointed anyway. Because now that we were kinda used to the fact that we get these amazing models already available, like the 1.5, we're always expecting better and better models to come out in the future. And for good reason. I mean, it makes sense that in the future we'll get better and better models than the previous ones, which is the case with pretty much any other text-to-image AIs, like Midjourney. And yet, with Stable Diffusion, this is not the case. And yes, as I explained in the previous video, I know very well why they did that. And I will leave a link in the description down below for this video if you have watched it. And I'm perfectly aware that in the near future, we will get way better results with the newest 2.0 models. Because if every few weeks we get a minor improvement over the previous one, after a few months we might get something absolutely incredible that is way better than what we have currently. But I cannot help but feel that currently Stable Diffusion is way behind text-to-image AIs like Midjourney. And you see, before the release of the 2.0, each time that you went on the Stable Diffusion Reddit, you will get some absolutely amazing images generated by the community. In super amazing art styles that you've never seen before, with lots of custom dream booth models. But then when the 2.0 released, this was like a bomb that was dropped on the entire community. And the community was split into two parts. The people that loved the newest 2.0 release, because the 2.0 was really good at generating very realistic images. Images like this, for example, which look really good. But there were also another part of the community that felt like they were betrayed by Stability AI. A company that was always against censorship, pro-liberty, pro-freedom of speech, and in the end caved in to the demand to censor their future models. And not only that, but it also came at a cost, because for a lot of people, and me included, they felt like the newest version was way worse than the model that we got a few months ago, which really did not make any sense. And now the only images that you can generate with the newest 2.0 models are super realistic images like this, or realistic landscape images. But pretty much every image generated with the 2.0 or the 2.1 have exactly the same kind of feel, a kind of realistic or ultra-realistic images. It is extremely difficult to create anything or in a completely different art style, which was something that the 1.5 did very well. And you might think that this is okay, and you can still generate pretty of good images, and it's true, but all the text-to-image AIs can do the same thing and more. Now, it really hurts me each time that I go on Midjourney and I see these kinds of images created by the community that are just way better than anything that you can generate with Stable Diffusion alone. And I know that a lot of people are just super allergic to the fact that it is a paid subscription service and that they want everything to be free, but at the end of the day, poop is also free. That doesn't mean that I want it on my plate. And I would rather spend $10 or $30 a month to be able to generate amazing images like this super quickly and super easily, when Stable Diffusion is not able to even do like a quarter of that. I also got a lot of pretty funny comments on my YouTube videos lately telling me that lately my thumbnails looked really good, and they were asking me how I did that in Stable Diffusion, and the answer was very simple. I do not use Stable Diffusion to make my thumbnails anymore. So for those of you who want to know how I make my thumbnails, or more like how I used to make my thumbnails, is that before I would generate around 100 images in Stable Diffusion and then choose 2 of them for the thumbnail. And the reason I did that, the reason why I generated so many images and I would spend so much time just generating a bunch of images, is that around 70 to 80% of them would just be not good enough. And yet, now with Midjourney, I can spend 5 minutes to generate amazing images that I can use right now directly for my thumbnail. And they look way better than anything I could ever generate using Stable Diffusion. And don't get me wrong, I'm still a huge fan of Stable Diffusion. I still think that Stable Diffusion is the most versatile text-to-image AI on the planet. It is the only AI that you could train with your own images. It is the only AI that you can use for text-to-image, image-to-image, in-painting, out-painting, create a new style, train a new character, train a new concept. It is just absolutely fantastic when it works. But when it comes to the ease of use and the quality of the generated images out of the box, it is really far behind what something like Midjourney can do. And this is not even a discussion. Good luck trying to generate something like this with the newest 2.1 release. But also, for me, one of the biggest problems with Stable Diffusion and Stability AI is the fact that they're really bad at communication. If you remember my previous video on the subject, when I talked about the release of the 2.0 version, and when I talked about the future of Stable Diffusion, and why they did that, why they created this newest 2.0 version, I had to piece together comments from Imad, the CEO of Stability AI, to try to understand why they did what they did. So instead of having one single text explaining everything that they did and why they did that and all the problems they had to go through and the reasoning behind it, they would rather write all those cryptic messages that we have to put back together to try to understand what they want to say. I do not understand why they are so bad at communication. It is just so easy. It is so easy to explain why they did that and to appease the anger of the community. So I'm just really confused at what they're doing in the back end of the company because they are so secretive about it. Now don't get me wrong, Stable Diffusion has a very bright future. And if every few weeks we get a minor increase, a minor improvement over the quality of the previous one, we could have easily something that could create images as good as Midjourney currently. Especially once they release their Dream Booth 2.0 that would allow the community to fine-tune the 2.0 model themselves and create absolutely amazing models. So I'm really waiting patiently for that. But unfortunately, as of right now, Stable Diffusion is really far behind text-to-image AIs like Midjourney. And you also don't have to forget that Midjourney also is becoming better and better over time. So maybe by the time that Stable Diffusion catches up to Midjourney, Midjourney will be even further ahead. But this is not a problem for us consumers because in the end, we'll still get something that is way better and better over time. So I guess for now, the only thing that we can do is just wait and see. And again, if you want to try out the 2.1 version yourself, you can just download it on your own computer and try it out for free, which is still super cool. And there you have it, folks. Now I know that this video was a little unusual, so if you liked it or didn't like it, tell me in the comments down below if you want to see more videos like this or not, and I could maybe do something like this in the future. And there you go. Thank you so much to my Patreon supporters for supporting my videos. You guys are absolutely awesome. Congratulations also to this week's ARR challenge winner Yuso J for his awesome winter wallpaper submission, which you saw behind me this entire video. Yuso J, who is also my loyal Patreon supporters, so big thank you to him and also congratulations. And if you don't want to participate to our ARR challenge that we do every week on Discord, you can click the link in the description down below to join my Discord server, and maybe you too can be featured in the next video. That being said, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and smash the like button for the YouTube algorithm, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.